Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome from behind the Iron Curtain, as they say. How are you doing, Tasha?
I'm doing well, and yourself, Dean?
Lekker, man. Lekker. I can't complain.
It's hot. It's hot in Bristol. If my air conditioner makes too much background noise, just let me know. I'll switch it
Yeah,
off.
I'm here in Cape Town as well. It's like I'm sitting here going, sheesh, why is this light so
Okay.
hot?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Tasha, I was thinking about the stream that we're going to do today, and just this whole idea of internet censorship, and it really struck me how regressive it is, and I was trying to contextualize it. Look, I understand the motivation behind it, primarily the focus on it was to try and eradicate things like revenge porn, where people, actually harm other people, but with things online, and to curb certain types of hate speech. But as I understand it, we already have avenues in our legal system where people can address their grievances. Like if somebody harms you with hate speech or something, you do have legal recourse to it. So to find them now, implementing this bill, let me just scroll through it here for a second here, where the Film and Publications Board has been given like superpowers. They are in the position now. Let me just see. Why can't I scroll you now? They're in the position now where they have the power to literally censor people and to take you to court. Oh my goodness, come baby, why can't I scroll you now? Let me just double check what's going on here. Let me see. Give me a second. Forgive me for faffing around here now.
Are you looking for the
I'm
legislation?
looking for the scroll bar and I can't seem to get to it. In any case, let me just read it here on my screen. It basically says, that the Film and Publication Board have been given superpowers. And while people applaud the bill's efforts to protect children from disturbing content, to curb hate speech, and to address the scourge of fake online news, the the detrimental effect that it has is that it's going to curb freedom of expression. Enshrined in our constitution is this clause of freedom of expression, and you're free to speak your mind and speak your conscience within limits, obviously. But now this bill demands pre-publication classification, which amounts to censorship, and it's not only constitution, but it's also highly unreasonable, and it's going to be extremely difficult to enforce. In broad terms, very vague definitions and impractical requirements of the bill will not only affect media, people who work professionally with media, but every single person who uses social media and the internet. So if you basically are making a TikTok or uploading a video to YouTube, you are considered as a publisher, and your content needs to be pre-approved and pre-screened. It's ridiculous. Firstly, I feel that it's unenforceable. How they do not have any idea of the volume of work that goes into monitoring something like this. I mean, who they can hardly issue my car's license in due time. How in the hell are they going to police the entirety of online content that's produced? It's simply not possible, in my opinion. Firstly, so I've got the faint suspicion that it's going to default back to having, the government should have some kind of grievance council or grievance board where people can actually voice their grievances and have a team of professionals look into the case. Because just trying. I mean, how are they even going to police something like this? It's simply impossible. It sounds to me like there's going to be a panel full of old tunnies in Bloemfontein sitting around at a table with a TV in front of them,
With a
scrolling
notebook.
scrolling through Facebook, going, ah, ah.
I think the old tannies in Bloemfontein are too busy watching Isidingu and 7 on reruns to worry too much about. Well, in any case, I think you and I are perfectly safe. But let's also, Dean, let's not take the old tannies flock, eh? I'm an old tanny, so they might be.
You know, I'm only poking fun, you know.
Yes, but just remember, we're talking here about two aspects, and one is freedom of speech, and the other one is my right to be offended or not. Now you have the right of freedom of speech to say that the old tannies in Bloemfontein are going to give us some hassles, and as an old tanny, I have the right to be offended by you referring to old tannies. So I mean, this is the first instance. So I think that that's exactly the issue with any legislation of this kind. And I just want to say, I have the first comment that I want to make. You said that were you reading from a newspaper report when you said that the
from an article on Politics Web. So Politics Web published this. Published the article. It was published actually, you know, when the bill, just before the bill was presented to Parliament in 2019. I mean, it's only been signed into law at the first of this month, but this was in concept. This was being, you know, conceived and groomed into the atrocity that it is today from about 2019, I believe. They started in 2019 to actually formalize the wording of the law. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't sound to me like a single lawyer was involved in the process of drafting this law.
No. I think I have the opposite view. I think there were tens of thousands of lawyers involved because they just saw the money they're going to make from all of the cases that are going to be brought by tannies from Bloemfontein or those sitting in Pretoria who feel offended by something that somebody said. So in fact, I think that this law was created by lawyers. And please, if anybody takes offense, I think that is my right to free speech to say what I think. I didn't say it was. I think I don't even allege. So let's just keep on that, you know, allegedly, in my alleged opinion. So we have to weigh and measure every single word really carefully.
It's ridiculous.
No, I think it's a good thing.
Natasha, I am waiting for that first hate preacher to go online. I am waiting. I want to go and make I want to go and make a case about how deeply offended I am about being sent to hell for eternity in, you know, going to, and it's extremely offensive to my delicate atheist sensibilities, you know, to be
I don't think we have to wait. I think by 9 o'clock tonight, there will be at least 4 or 5 sermons on the internet where gays are sent to hell. So I think by tonight, 9 o'clock, we will have our first case. And I, in fact, undertake here and now in public to lodge the first complaint on Monday morning with the Film and Publications Board. And hopefully before my 79th birthday, I will have had a response from them. And if you stay tuned for the next 18 or so odd years, then we can give feedback to our audience on what happened to my complaint about the hate speech against gays that I'm sure is being committed as we speak. So I think I'm willing to go on record as being the first test case in this matter. So I just want to say one thing that you said that the article on the Politics web said that the Film and Publications Board has been given superpowers.
Yeah.
To me, in the South Africa that we live in, that is a little bit of, no, that is a massive oxymoron. And I don't know if you remember your grade 10, 11 literature. So for those who did not pay attention in class, Teacher Tasha is here to help you. An oxymoron is basically when you say something that it's like a living corpse. So to say that the Film and Publications Board has been given superpowers is like saying he is really.
It's like a married bachelor, or you know, or
it's completely. It's
or
completely irrational.
a celibate priest. That's also
A celibate priest. Yes, yes. So,
oh my goodness, I better watch my mouth. You see, this is the thing. Now I'm offending the priesthood, you know. It's like, what,
you know,
where do you draw the line there? So, I mean, like,
the other thing,
it's crazy.
It's actually not. In some ways, I don't really even want to discuss this amendment to the Act because it's so laughable.
Yeah.
In the first place, the vagueness of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a quick glance at some of the definitions. So, what is a freelance? What is a digital content creator? So, my son is 15. He streams. He plays video online games. Now he has a YouTube channel with 4 subscribers, and he makes a video of one of his games. And so is he now an online? Is he a digital creator? Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing. Okay, so they want everything to be classified pre-publication. Never mind, let's put the pre-publication part aside for a moment. I make a video, I'm a geography teacher, I make a video about the age of rocks. Okay, so is that education? Yes, I think that's easy enough, but to some people, when I talk about the age of the earth, that touches upon religion. It can be seen as because what I'm teaching is in direct conflict with the Bible, therefore,
my deeply held beliefs.
Beliefs, yes.
You're offending my sensibilities.
But now, is a lesson about evolution?
Yeah.
Is it only educational, or is it religious education, or is it science education, or is it just education, or just there? And now I've made a video for a biology lesson about evolution as an educator. So I'm a content creator. So firstly, who's going to help me to classify my lessons? Okay, what are the criteria for classifying any online product? And then secondly, so now all the young earth proponents in South Africa are highly offended that somebody can actually post a video online that says that humans are animals and that we all can trace our origin back to a common ancestor, and they find that extremely offensive and insulting, and it could be said that is actually hate speech, because to call a human being an animal, so now are they going to lodge a complaint against me? And what is the complaints procedure? So do you start, surely the Film and Publications Board can't, are they going to fine me directly if they find against me?
I suppose they're probably going to take you to court, you know, like this is going to be a, you know, like dinkum, you know, legislation, and send you to court, and, you know, it's going to be crazy, Tasha. I mean, it's completely unenforceable. There is there's no possible way in hell that this is going to fly. Well, I don't know about heaven. You know, like it sounds like this is something that's made for heaven, but I don't know. You know,
But
like let me just like they did a follow up article where they interviewed I believe it's Pumzile van Dam from
I'm
the
done.
from the Democratic Alliance, and this was done shortly after this was proposed. This was in September 2016, and these three concerns that she raised then are still valid today. You know, like first of all, there's the constitutional concerns, where the bill is unconstitutional in that it seeks to impose pre-classification of content distributed online. The sections, some section 18.5 states that no digital film may be distributed unless it has been classified by the Film and Publications Board. So, and then the thing is, they are so vague in the way that they labeled and defined film that if you make a TikTok video, it's considered publishing a film. If you make a YouTube clip like this video that we are doing now is technically in contravention of the law because it hasn't been submitted for publication because it's being produced live. So it's so poorly worded and ill conceived that this particular section here concludes by saying the bill infringes on the constitutional right to privacy as well. In section 24.3 states that any person who distributes a film or game online must keep a register of all instances where access was granted to a user whose names, address, verifiable age must be noted in the register. I mean, it's ludicrous. It's like we're living in the 16th century where somebody is guarding the king's library.
with the difference that now it's all happening in the cyber realm,
Exactly.
and nobody can manage it.
How does this work? Like I am in South Africa, so I connect to a VPN and I record my content in a server in Brazil and I upload it to YouTube in California. Like, which territory's laws do I actually have to abide by? And if I view content in South Africa that was created by somebody in another country, what kind
and
of
not pre-
yeah,
so
and
any
I'm
content
offended.
created,
I'm deeply offended down to my core, in my spirit, with every single grain of my being, that I saw somebody's cleavage on a video. And I cannot. I'm clutching at my pearls in shock and horror as I behold the cleavage. Who do I redress this to? So say for example, this is content that was made by somebody in Greece on a private beach, and I see it here in South Africa. I mean, like, do I lodge my grievance against YouTube? Is YouTube going to police all of this now?
and does so is any and furthermore, so every single YouTube channel has to submit the content for reclassification with the South African Films and Publication Board because it's being distributed. Dean, do we really have to waste time talking about this?
I don't know. Because it's like right on my doorstep. I've been playing around with doing some online talks and getting the community down here in South Africa, getting us connected to atheists worldwide, and all of a sudden this steaming pile of elephant dung lands right in my lap. So I don't know. Like I'm just gonna go and carry on business as usual. The second they drag me into court, I am going to cause a big stink and drag every single preacher, every single hate preacher that I can find into this unholy bubbling cauldron of bile that the government is cooking up.
No, I think, I think this is a double or maybe triple-edged sword. or maybe a hexagonally edged sword, because
it's a Dungeons and Dragons sword.
Yes, because
Hexagonal.
if the aim was to combat fake news, I think that there's no way it can work. Let me give you an example of why I say that. It just happens, my project is religion in schools. Yeah. So I get sent all kinds of things about how religion manifests in schools. And just this morning, I got a news report about the police had to step in to curb the chaos at least two schools in the Northern Cape, because there was, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to say this with a straight face, but I'm going to do my best. There was an infestation of evil spirits, and the kids started to faint. There was mass hysteria. It really got so bad that kids had to be collected from school by their parents. The police was called in, and because the evil spirits had taken hold of many kids. Now, how is that? Yes, something happened at the school. I agree, because kids submitted to a form of mass hysteria. But the news report says evil spirits descended on the school. Now that is fake news. That's fake news, because there are no such things as evil spirits. And I'm sure that I could make an argument that to say that evil spirits had descended on the school in the Northern Cape, that's fake news. So this is in News 24. I just translated it. This is in the Network 24. So anything that anybody claims, any video wherein a pastor claims to relieve people of evil spirits, any charlatan who does a miracle raising somebody from the dead could be flagged as fake news. So maybe we should look on the bright side in this case, Dean, and we should.
To me, Joshua, it just feels like they are so ill prepared for the deluge of sewage that's going to come down the pipe at them and hit them square in the chest. It's a whole can of worms that they're opening up here, my dear. It is going.
Fortunately, that's not your and my worry. Aren't you happy about that?
I know. It's going to be Comedy Central in court, I'm telling you.
I would be really excited to see the first court case. We should really keep our finger on this pulse to see what's happening. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to ask you to do that, because I'm way too busy trying to get religion out. The practice, not getting religion out of schools, getting the practice of faith and religious beliefs out of schools. But you let me know when the first person lodged, besides mine, of course, I will do my first tomorrow, Mine's going tomorrow. I'm going to contact the Film and Publications Board tomorrow. I will let you guys know on Facebook or YouTube or wherever what I will share the video that my complaint is about, and then I'll keep you guys posted. But I'm waiting for the one after mine to see. But the other thing, Dean, that we must not lose sight of, any law like this, the moment you tell people, don't read that book, don't watch that movie, in that moment, you've made everybody curious as to why mustn't I read this? Why? And censorship. You and I grew up in the 80s. When I was in 88, I was in grade 10, and the Andre Brink, his books were banned. And there was one particular book, what Kennis van die Aand. In Afrikaans, it's Kennis van die Aand. I don't know what it was called. Kennis van die Aand. Let me just check that out.
Yeah, I remember they were. I mean, they were. You know,
Looking on Darkness. In English, it's Looking on Darkness. Now that book was banned. I didn't even know that a book
books, artists, everything that was deemed subversive to the old regime was immediately censored. You know, people were fined for being in possession of certain items. You know?
And you know what happened?
It's a form of mind control, for fuck's sake. You know, now that it strikes me, it's like the government's trying to control what I see and what I put into my mind. You know, like what the actual
80s, even in the 80s, before the internet, they couldn't do that. That's what I'm actually trying to say. Even in the 80s.
It's such a good point. You know, it's such a good point you're making, Tasha. It's
even in the 80s, before the internet, they couldn't control it. With all the state apparatus of a highly effective security police, with a highly effective government, a highly effective bureaucracy, they couldn't control it, because I visited a Dutch missionary's house, and I walked past his bookshelf, and I recognized the name André Brink as an Afrikaans writer, because some of his other books were not banned, so I knew him. And I said, "Oh, André Brink." And I said, "Goodness, funny, I don't know this book." And the missionary said, "Oh, yes, it's actually banned in South Africa." And I'm 16. He says, "It's actually banned. I wasn't supposed to bring it in." But he did get it in.
Yeah.
And I said, "It's banned. Really? It's banned. Why is it banned? Can I borrow it, please?" You know? And because I read some of his other books, this one must be the really bad. It's bad. Oh,
it's true. They're creating the forbidden fruit. You know, it's insane. I can't believe it.
But
you know, I literally feel, you know, speaking of all this brouhaha in Russia and everything, but it feels like some kind of, you know, like it's almost like it's, you know, I hate to say the word, but it's like this communist mind control that they're trying to bring down on us. You know, like, be careful, you know, watch what you say, because anything that you say can and will be held against you. You know, but just, you know, let me quickly just before we continue here, let me just summarize. There's a couple of bullet points here. This is what I encountered on my broadband. You know, so this is an article that was published 3 days ago, and it says the most important changes that the Act introduces is the following. Right. So, firstly, it gives the Film and Publication Board power to regulate almost all content published online in South Africa. Secondly, all commercial online distributors must register with the Film and Publication Board and submit content for classification before publication. Thirdly, it says, alternatively, online distributors could apply for a self-classification exemption. Foreign rating systems may apply for recognition in South Africa. And then this is the main crux of this law, was to prevent the publication of revenge porn that is criminal now. So it's a criminal offense that you can be sent to jail and fined excessive amounts of money for. The same thing with images or videos of child abuse, sexual abuse material, that's also criminalized now. And now they also said internet access providers that knowingly allow such content and other prohibited content to be hosted on their networks are criminally liable. And that is where the checks and balances should lie, is with the ISPs, because they've got control of the infrastructure. You connect to them to access the internet. So that's basically your point of entry. And that is where, you know, if there's anything objectionable, it should be at that point where it's policed. And then knowingly distributing prohibited content, including hate speech and incitement of violence, is an offense. So those are the major changes. So again, very vague on what is hate speech. So the first hate preacher that I'm going to encounter, I'm going to I'm definitely going to file a complaint and say this is hate speech. You know, get it off the air.
I am. Maybe that's not a good strategy, and I think that's what everybody's going to realize. Let's just take a step back, and without even thinking about the implementation, because I don't know enough to know how internet service providers are going to implement this in any case. I don't know whether my internet service provider vets every single YouTube video that I or my husband or my kids watch. Do they do that? I mean, do they look at the content?
They can. If I mean, they very seldom do have the need to do that. But speaking technically, they can intercept, your point of entry, and basically see and decode whatever's going through your internet connection. It's a bit of a process, but it can definitely be done.
Okay, so it's a bit of a process. So that process is going to cost them money. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of two, that either if they are forced by the Film and Publications Board to do that,
yeah,
they're going to say, okay, so who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not going to pass this on to my customers. So who's going to pay for it? Government? Is it that loan? Maybe that's why they took out the loan from the IMF now, to pay for checking every single YouTube. That really,
they want to make sure that my cat doesn't show her butt on YouTube.
Absolutely, that's why they got that loan. Oh, but besides that, law in South Africa is, as the last time you and I spoke, we had Advocate HB Marie on about the religious education court case. And law in South Africa is intertwined, and also what happens in one case sort of sets a precedent, and then that is that. So it's fine. They can try this. But I can't see if it was found, as it was, unless I'm mistaken, please correct me if I'm mistaken, but I am under the impression that in the Afriforum case, between the hate speech case that Afriforum made against the EFF about the song "Kill the Farmer, Kill the Boer," that was declared, that song "Kill the Farmer, Kill the Boer" was declared not to be hate speech.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure whether it was declared. Is it incitement to violence? I think not. I don't know. I personally think it might be in certain circumstances, but from a legal point of view,
it's situational.
So the point I'm trying,
different contexts. Yeah.
And the point I'm trying to make is, if a court in South Africa decided that to sing "Kill the Farmer, Kill the Boer" at an EFF rally that is broadcast, that excerpts are posted on Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, even on the SABC. So will the SABC in a news bulletin be allowed to broadcast a meeting of the EFF where Julius Malema and his party members stand on the stage and sing "Kill the Farmer, Kill the Boer"?
Yeah.
Now, according to the rules by the Film and Publications Board, no, because I could argue that it's hate speech. But according to another case, that's not hate speech, so it can be done. So already I see that there's internal conflict, and we haven't even spoken about the Constitution.
Exactly.
So I don't lose 2 winks of sleep
over it,
about this.
Mm. And I'm inclined to agree with you, Tasha. It just sounds like it's something that is going to be A, impossible to enforce, and B, it's going to be so open to subjective interpretation of what it actually you know, what it entails, because the law is worded so haphazardly and, you know, in such broad strokes that it doesn't give any specifics, you know. So you know, people can sit there for days and interpret what they consider hate speech and what they consider to be offensive. And you know, I'm also going to, you know, like one day before my court case, I'm going to convert to Pastafarianism. And you know, the smell of noodles on the judge's breath really offends me as well, you know. And
You know, whenever
he ate
the
the
topic
Lord.
of,
He ate the Lord. The pasta, ramen.
you know, I love philosophy, and I love talking about philosophy.
Yeah.
So I can theoretically go on about the deeper philosophy behind this for many hours.
Yeah.
But in terms of talking about this amendment and the act, I don't think it's worth wasting one's breath on. But it does open up a discussion about free speech and censorship that I think is needed. And I understand why this is a conundrum in our day and age.
Yeah.
But it's really complicated. For example, when my kids were younger, you know, if you typed in butterfly, I kid you not, if you typed in butterfly in Google, amongst pictures of butterflies, it could lead you into porn sites, because apparently that's a position. So
or
the way
some young Hollywood starlet's name.
Whatever.
Who fell upon hard times.
And I don't want children 9, 10 to be inadvertently exposed to pornography when they're not ready for it. So I get this idea that there should be some form of control, but in the internet age, like I said, even before the internet age, you know, books, ideas get out. You cannot suppress ideas. You cannot legislate human emotions, and you cannot legislate human ideas. You can try, but printing a law and putting the president's signature on a piece of paper is the very first, very small step and it can be absolutely meaningless. And if I just to talk a little bit about my project, if I see how the 2017 court hofuitspraak, wat is die woord wat my nou ontgaan? How the 2017 judgment, I mean, we're talking 5 years. There was a judgment that told schools explicitly, it wasn't vague, it isn't vague, it's very clear. There was a very clear judgment that no South African public school can call themselves Christian, okay? That was in 2017. I'm sitting, as we speak, with a list of at least, and those are only the schools that I've looked into so far, at least 45 schools that still have on their websites, on their religious policy documents, we are a proudly Afrikaans Christian school.
That's offensive.
But never mind it being offensive.
It's on the website. How dare they offend my delicate atheist sensibilities, Tasha?
It's in contravention. And nothing changed. After 2017, after a court judgment, after a ruling, nothing has changed. The law is very clear on what needs to happen.
Yeah.
But nobody enforces it. So if that can happen in the case of one very simple act, very clear, no, it doesn't involve internet service providers, it doesn't involve 45 million individuals that have access to cell phones. It's just there's something like 2,000 public schools. The government cannot get 2,000 public schools to get their religious policy documents in line with a court judgment. Okay? How on this piece of rock that we sit on this pale blue dot, how is the Film and Publications Board going to police 45 individuals, not to mention all the internet service providers and everything that goes with it? Really, it is.
I don't think it's possible.
It can't happen. It cannot happen. And if it does, it's going to be a very interesting case.
It's like I said to you in the beginning, Tasha, to renew, just to renew the license on your motor vehicle, takes weeks. It's a process of having to go, fill out forms, pay. Even if you do it online, it still takes weeks to process, so and that is one vehicle for one person, if you're lucky. Not everybody has a vehicle. Some people have more than one. Can you imagine how long, if you have to apply, so for example, I go and I shoot a video on the beach just for my own recreation. I love the sound of the ocean. I love the sound of seagulls, and I have this video on loop, on my YouTube channel. Every night I fall asleep to it. So I have to go now and I have to submit a request, and trust me, I work in film, so the process of applying for a film permit, just to go and take 60 people, for example, to go and shoot something in a city street, is a massive logistical undertaking. You have to, there's so many moving parts to something like that, so what they are essentially wanting to do is to turn the Film and Publications Board into a film office, because you're going to have to apply for permissions and permits, get consent from every single person that's involved, and that is more in line with how film shoots and, recording things for distribution online is regulated. Firstly, you have to start from the bottom up, and then, on the content side, you have to work with content distribution networks. There's licensing fees, there's regulatory bodies and everything. So, it's just so much red tape that this whole process is wrapped up in. To now want to amalgamate that into the Film Publications Board's portfolio of things that they already have to do, they're going to have to employ half the country to watch the other half. It's simply, it's so impractical and unheard of, unless they have developed some shit hot algorithm and they have got a contract. They've got a contract with the supercomputer at CERN that, they've got this AI that they just developed now to scan every single picture and every single video that leaves TikTok. It's insane. I don't know. I just think the intentions are good, but the application, the road to hell is paved with very good intentions, as they say.
But I don't think there is even a road to pave in this case. Let me tell you, really, you can't even use that expression because there is no road. There is no road that can be paved. The intention is there, but the intentions are just floating in cyberspace. I'll tell you, I'm on the website of the FPB right now, and I just want to put you at ease that if you want to report child pornography, the hotline website that you can report child pornography is currently under maintenance. So so if you actually come across child pornography and you want to report that, the hotline website's not working. So
you've got to hang on to it for a while.
So you can't even do on the FPB website. You cannot do something like report child pornography.
It's a comedy of errors, we all are familiar with this.
No,
I mean, it's a stereotype. It's a stereotype. People say things run on African time. It happens. It happens in, it happens like at 0.25 the speed of regular things. And now, if you consider a dam wall, like, and you punch a hole in it and there's a small leak, what they're literally trying to do is they're trying to plug a massive big hole with a wine cork. Like it's just not practical. Like the whole thing is going to collapse and overwhelm them, and it's going to cause such a big backlog. People are going to wait for, like you say, you're gonna be like I'm going to be 2 steps away from my cremation spot in Wiesenhof, in Wiesenhof Forest, where they sprinkle my ashes before my YouTube video for this weekend is actually seen and classified.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you said, I'm not. After talking to you, you really put my mind at ease. Because I tend to like blow things completely out of proportion, and I want to be this model law-abiding citizen, that pays my taxes and drives my car under the speed limit and everything.
Yeah.
And like now they throw something like this at me, where I know, okay, there are going to be instances where things are going to be said that is going to be offensive to certain people, that is going to step on a couple of religious toes. We don't do this out of malice. We don't do this out of hate for a specific class of people. So it's not, with the intention of being hate speech or hateful, but this is our lived experience. This is our lived experience as atheists, and these are the things that we encounter in our day-to-day lives. And we have the freedom to express ourselves, our conscience, and our mind according to the Constitution. So if somebody else deems my freedom of expression as hate speech, where do you draw the line? Religion offends me. I'm offended by religion.
Your religion,
I'm not offended by any particular one. I'm offended by all of them. Every single one of them offends me in the way that it, sets back human progress, human intelligence, and do I have a leg to stand on now as well? Religion offends me to my core. Footsack. That's what I say to them. Footsack.
You see, you have been in Facebook jail, which I've never been. Yeah. I'm free. My record is 100% clean. But I'll tell you one thing. Because this adds on to the whole concept of slander and libel. I was once threatened with a 500,000 rand. What libel is when you write, and slander is when you speak it.
Yes. Libel is published, and slander is.
Yeah, so I was threatened with a 500,000 slander case against me. Yeah. But it was just to threaten me, and I called the bluff and nothing happened. But this is not a uniquely South African problem. And I think South Africa as a country, we are constantly trying to navigate a modern westernized society, and then we want to fit that into a very poorly developed or a declining bureaucracy with very poor management. I mean, we have, apparently the machine that prints driver's licenses, there's only one in the whole country, and it has been broken now for I don't know how long.
I know, there's a massive backlog.
They fixed it. It seems they fixed it, so it has been repaired now. So, but on the one hand, we want these very modern laws, because I think it's still ongoing. I'm reading a speech that Rowan Atkinson gave, I don't know when this was, about free speech and free speech laws, that has caused real trouble in the UK. And I can maybe just quote here, just the one paragraph that he says. So this is Rowan Atkinson, the full, if you go English speech channel. This is the full speech by Rowan Atkinson, and he begins and says, "My starting point when it comes to the consideration of any issue relating to free speech is my passionate belief that the second most precious thing in life is the right to express yourself freely. The most precious thing in life, I think, is food in your mouth. And the third most precious is a roof over your head. But a fixture in the number 2 slot for me is free expression, just below the need to sustain life itself. That is because I have enjoyed free expression in this country all my professional life and expect to continue to do so. I personally am highly unlikely to be arrested for whatever laws exist to contain free expression because of the undoubtedly privileged position that is afforded to those of a high public profile. So my concerns are less for myself and more for those vulnerable because of their lower profile, like the man arrested in Oxford for calling a police horse a gay, or the teenager arrested for calling the Church of Scientology a cult, or the cafe owner arrested for displaying passages from the Bible on a TV screen. And I think this encapsulates what this law is actually trying to do, and it cannot be done. It cannot be done on the physical scale of the internet. It cannot be done in any way. And it boils down to the fact that I do not have the right to not be offended.
That's the thing, There's it's almost like they're trying to create a instead of enforcing laws that will protect citizens. What they are inevitably doing is they're trying to nanny. They're trying to micromanage every single person. Like surely there's another approach to this. There's another approach to this, but this feels to me like a knee-jerk reaction to a specific case. Like somebody got a wind of some youngster being ostracized at school because of revenge porn. It got brought up in some cabinet meeting, then it was discussed at the Imbizo, and then it went to the bar, and then after the bar it ended up in cabinet, and somebody said, yes, let's sign this thing into law. Like we have to protect these people. So the intention is noble. Like I can understand the intention is noble. It's just the way that it's applied and enforced is completely impractical. It's unenforceable. I can simply use a VPN and relocate myself digitally to another country, do whatever I want to there. That is does the law, since they want to police the internet, does the law end at your IP address, or does it, if you create a VPN before your IP address, then technically you are in another country, so where does the law stand on the location of IP addresses? Is it your computer hardware, or is it you physically? Where does the law start and where does it end? It's
no. What I think we should be more upset about, then we should also not have a knee-jerk reaction to this law. What upsets me more than this law is the fact that time and money is spent on creating a law like this when you have 97 grade 7s sitting in one classroom.
Yeah.
If you really want to protect children, do something. When you still have children drowning in pit toilets, you can recover from being exposed to porn at the age of 9, but recovering from drowning in a pit toilet is well.
Yeah, it's a bit.
It's a different matter.
It takes a bit longer. Yeah. Look, yeah. So, I sense that we can go. we can talk about this forever, but
we can.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we like cleared the air and just, like that I got, like a second opinion in on this as well, because like I told you yesterday, like I've been obsessing about this, and like I feel like I'm a dog with a muzzle, and that
Let
the
it go.
government is going
Go,
to come and
Dean.
bust my door down, and drag me kicking and screaming to jail because I called some Christian stupid for for some reason.
It
Or,
can't,
and
it can't be worse. You are just hypersensitive because of your stint in Facebook, Joe. You are just
that
really sensitive.
the emotional damage is real, Trash.
I wouldn't know. I've never been in Facebook jail. I have. Dean, can I not read our audience? Do you think they'll enjoy that little blood-sucking vampire? Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't. Just maybe it's a segue into a different topic. I don't know what you want to do talk about next. But yeah, I think the bottom line is, instead of trying to police ideas and the internet, rather teach people to be more tolerant, and that tolerant and less easily offended. Offense is taken. Offense is not given.
That's true.
And I think we need to teach people that.
Yeah.
If I take offense against something you say or do, maybe I should just ask myself, and there's nothing wrong with saying I take offense, and then you can say I'm sorry. If my kids, my daughter has this thing. She's very sensitive that all beliefs are equal and everybody's beliefs should be respected.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a millennial thing, because no, I should respect your right to hold any belief, but I shouldn't respect beliefs that you hold that you cannot sustain and provide evidence for. Because if we live in a world, and that is the broader philosophical base from which I operate, if we begin to live in a world where every belief is, I have to respect the belief that you hold. No. Nor do you have to respect any belief that I hold. You have to respect my right to hold that belief. If you want to hold some stupid, false, fucked up belief, you have the full right to do so. If you want to be stupid, I don't want to prevent you from being stupid. I prefer to help you to not be stupid. But if you have the right to be stupid and hold to stupid beliefs, that's what it boils down to. And I have the same right.
Yeah.
And I have the right to tell you that your beliefs are wrong.
Yeah.
Because if we live in a world where we have to accept your belief because you have the right to have that belief, then we've crossed a border that is very, very dangerous. Because that's when we begin to believe things like, I believe that epilepsy is a demon possession. Okay? So I'm not going to take my child to the doctor when she has an epileptic fit, because I believe it's demon possession and we have to pray over it. Sorry? No, that does real harm.
Yeah.
And the irony of this law is it tries to protect especially children and vulnerable people. But you know what? Wrong and false beliefs for which there's no evidence has much more potential to harm people than being exposed to something they don't like on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you presented with two options. The first option here is progress with, via the information highway that you have access to, free, unfettered access to information and progress, education. And, you can see how society has changed and progressed for the better just because people are exposed to more information and more input and more ideas reach them and penetrate their isolated little bubble of existence. And on the other hand, you have got censorship, which tries to move humanity backwards by withholding information from them.
Mm.
So between these two, both have got pros and negatives, but I think on the freedom side, the benefits just way outweigh the potential harm that can come from it. And there are ways, if your children are watching pornography online, it's do better parenting, for fuck's sake. Don't try and exclude the entire world's access. This is like saying, because Uncle Pete got hammered drunk and puked all over the bridesmaid at Auntie May's wedding, that nobody will ever have a drink at another wedding again. It's that kind of, it feels to me like this kind of knee-jerk reaction. It's just like something bad happened, oh my god, cancel it. Like, it's I don't know if it's like, so you can draw a parallel between this law and cancel culture.
I'm not very into, I don't really know. You can. It's such a complicated debate that please, let's not talk about Joe Rogan. Let's not. And are you familiar with the movie Cinema Paradiso? Did you ever see that?
I haven't watched it. I am familiar with it, yes. A friend of mine also prompted me to watch it. I just haven't had the time. I've downloaded sorry, FPB, I didn't download shit. I bought the DVD. In case anybody's listening, I bought the DVD. I put my foot square in it now.
The Cinema Paradiso DVD.
Yeah.
Which one do you have? Because but I'll you'll see why I want to talk about this. I didn't know when I bought my copy that it's actually the editor's cut, and I don't like the editor's cut.
I just got the vanilla one, I think, that I downloaded.
No, the original one is much better. I mean I have the uncut one, which is worse. The cuts, the final cuts that the editor made were absolutely perfect in terms of the storyline. Yeah. But in this movie, I mean, it's a 1990s classic. It's one of the best movies ever made. So it is set on this, I think in Sicily, the small town, and there's this cinema called the Cinema Paradiso. Mm-hmm. It's very old, and it basically it's a coming of age story. But how it leads into what we're talking about when we talk about censorship. So in this little town, I mean, they start in the 1990s when the first films, the black and white, where you still have the non-talkies, it's before talkies, silent movie era. And the priest of the village priest, every single week when the new films come in, he gets a pre-viewing. And he sits and watches the movies, and he has a little bell. And every time there's anything in that movie that he deems the congregation should not see, then he rings the little bell, and then the film operator has to cut out that part. So then the film operator stops the film at that stage, and then he puts, because it's those old, the electronic, the strips, what do you call it, those rolls, and he puts a little strip of paper over that scene. And that, the story follows the life of the main character, and at the end of the film, the projectionist became the main character's sort of father figure, because his father died in the Second World War, and Alfredo was the projectionist's name. So as time went by, Alfredo, all those cuts that he made from the movies, what he did, he spliced them all together into one long film. And at the end of the movie, all those cut pieces are shown in one long reel. And what you see there is it begins with these silent era movies where if there's a love scene, the two main characters sort of just stare deeply into one another's eyes, and then that has to be cut out. And 10 years later, she holds her cheek and he gives a peck on the cheek. And at that time, that was cut. And then another 10 years later. And as time goes on, and all these cut pieces that were censored at the time when they were shown, by the time you get to the 1970s, there's full-on naked sex scenes. And the priest only cut, but there's, I mean, in the 1950s, it's all right to do open mouth kissing. But in the 1990s, that was cut from the film, you know. So how everything changes. And I think that's what censorship and attempts to censorship. It's trying to, for better or for worse, sometimes because you want to do good, sometimes because you think my 7-year-old shouldn't see that, I'm going to censor this from him. There's no necessarily bad intention, but censorship never works. It never works. The better option is to educate people from a young age to know what they should see, what they shouldn't see, when they should see it, and to teach people how to judge. Because, you know, there's a button that says stop, and there's a dial that says no, this is not making me feel good. This is not making me feel good about society. And it's much better to train people to find their own buttons so that they can manage themselves. And if you're a parent, that you can make educated choices about what is age appropriate, and also not only what is age appropriate. I was 6 when television started in South Africa. You know the series Heidi, that was the Afrikaans translation of the animation Heidi?
Well. Peter and Heidi and the St. Bernard dog on the mountains.
Yes, and Heidi.
And the guy with the goats. I always remember the goats.
So my mom censored me from watching that story. You know why? Because I was such a sensitive viewer that if I found something really beautiful, then I'd sob for 3 hours because it's just so beautiful. So my mom prevented me from watching Heidi because I would be crying for 2 hours after watching each episode of Heidi because it's so beautiful. So how? Whereas my brother, I was in a stage of emotional upheaval for 2 hours after watching Heidi, and most other kids like, you know. And that's the thing that people that want to censor don't realize. They don't know what they're doing, even when they want to do it for good reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's, as somebody who teaches critical thinking skills, that's what we want to do. So, what's next? Are we done?
I think we're done. Yeah. You know, it's just, you know, it's very interesting to hear other people's take on it. You know, and I'm sure as the week develops, you know, more opinions and things are going to be added to this whole list. I mean, it's only been law now since the 1st of March. You know, so it's almost a week now. So I'm sure we haven't heard the last of it yet, you know, like, and I am very interested to know what the Satanic Church is going to do about this.
Yes. Okay, so Dean, let's just confirm this. So what we're going to do now, I'm not sure, you know, I was thinking about this last night. I want to make a TikTok video about critical thinking skills, and I want to use the stupid things about evil spirits in schools to sort of do a satire. But now I'm thinking last night, so I haven't done it yet, because it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. So now I want to teach critical thinking skills, but I want to use some evangelical pastor as my satire. But if I do that, then I'm indirectly maybe prompting somebody who has never heard or been interested in that type of evangelical pastor's sermon to go and watch the pastor's sermon. So what if I make a video trying to teach people critical thinking skills and move away from belief in superstition? And in doing that,
I mean, there's always that possibility that things can backfire horribly, you know, with with everything that you do. It's not only the, somebody might watch this video and think that you know, we completely overreacting, we hysterical virgins clutching at our pearls over something so insignificant, you know, like
hey, think yourself, I am not clutching about my pearls. So if anybody has to be ready for a backfire of their law, it's the Film and Publications Board.
Definitely.
So I am not clutching at I'm not wearing pearls today, but I'm not clutching at anything. I'm just really, I just think this is really funny.
I've got my popcorn in the microwave because this is going to be one hell of a ride to watch, you know.
I can't wait.
You know, the one thing that I just need to caution our members across the Atheist Republic consulates is just think twice before you post something, you know, like don't try and like curb what you what you say, but just be aware, you know, be aware that when you post things online, there is the possibility that this can backfire quite horribly on you, you know. And
but Dean, does this law really change that? Because I remember that a couple of years ago there was a court case where some South African Greek person sat on a beach in Greece and made some very racist remarks, and that was spread on WhatsApp. And I mean, that time, and he got into quite a little bit of hot water about that. And that was way before this amendment to the act. So, in my opinion, that should be one's rule of thumb in any case. So in my opinion, this Amendment Act doesn't and shouldn't change that. Because
definitely, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying, you know, like I am by nature a skeptic, and you know, I have a very pessimistic outlook when it comes to human nature. You know, I tend to see the worst in people before I see the good in them, you know, like, and you know, like I'm a Facebook inmate, you know, like they say I've been rehabilitated, but the jury's still out, you know. So I'm just saying, just be very aware of, you know, you know, when I'm online, you know, like I go into a zone and I'm, you know, in a completely different mindset when I'm interacting with people, because it's not in person. So there's a wall of anonymity between yourself and somebody else. But just be aware that there is a big brother somewhere in the sky that can, you know, watch and intercept things. So, you know, I'm not trying to sow seeds of paranoia and persecution, but you know, just for the sake of, you know, not being the guinea pig that gets the lead injection. You know, just be aware, be cautious, be careful, keep yourself safe, keep your family safe from, you know, anything. And yeah, I mean, that would be my take on it. But trust me, like 1 week down the line, you're going to be finding me on like
and I mean that's very good advice in general, and I think it's worthwhile. It might be very entertaining to see what pops out of this. But I wouldn't get my panties in a twist. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's quite funny, and I look forward to if I do submit my complaint. Once the hotline is up and running again, because the website seems to be a little bit backwards. So maybe, hey, look on the bright side. Maybe it'll have the Film and Publications Board get their act together, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like I am going to report every single hate preacher that I can find, every single homophobe, every single racist,
yeah.
every single one of them. we can become the reason crusaders or something.
Yeah, no, I agree, and let's have fun with this. It was nice talking, Dean. So, and are we doing Afrikaans Atheist next week?
Yes, I believe so. I'll have a look at the schedule. I think it's Afrikaans next week, and then Sesotho afterwards. I wanted to just also put it out there that if we have any speakers of the Nguni languages, isiZulu, Xhosa, please feel free to contact us in the Facebook groups. You are more than welcome. You know, we'll set up the infrastructure. You're more than welcome to do programming in isiZulu or Xhosa. So it's not that we are deliberately excluding you. We just do not have any volunteers or people who are stepping up to produce that content for us yet. So maybe the guys in the KZN consulates can, you know, put their heads together. You know, we do, you know, this is not a major commitment of your time. It's basically 1 hour in a month where you come and you sit and talk. You can maybe bring a guest, bring a friend, bring somebody interesting that you want to speak to. We'll set it up. We'll manage it for you on the back end. All you need to do is show up to your computer, have some fun, talk about atheism. And in that sense, you can also represent your language, your culture, your identity within the atheist community in South Africa. You're more than welcome. Like I said, just reach out to us. I am in all the consulates. Just search for my name, Dean Kruger. You'll find me in the consulates. Just send me a message. If you know of anybody or if you can recommend anybody, you know, we've had some people show interest, but there were some issues with being available on Sunday afternoons. So, you know, just have a think about it. And if anybody pops to mind, or if you would like to volunteer, then please reach out to us. We'll talk you through everything, set you up, and, you know, let's get everybody talking.
Cool.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tasha. Thank you for joining me. And, you know, let's have more of these conversations. I really like, you know, you've got a very, I can say, very informed but nuanced opinion. You know, like sometimes I just bulldoze into these things without thinking, you know, so I really like bouncing ideas off of you.
We need to do that. Two koppe is better as one. Two heads are always better than one. And yeah, no, it's just remember, I'm not more informed than the regular person. Maybe I've just spent some more time listening to podcasts and reading up on philosophy. Maybe that's the only skill set I can bring to the table. And I want to keep out of Facebook jail, so I'm very careful about what I say. And also, don't forget, ek is eintlik net 'n goeie gewone Afrikaanse boere tannie van Woester.
Amazing. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Take care, stay safe, and
Bye,
we'll
guys.
see you next weekend.
Bye.